Professor Koino Amano is with us. Yeah, thank you so much. So she's from Japan, and she's going to talk on the title of the session is the title of the talk is the three kind of wisdom inherited in the Veda science, tradition and narratives as comprehensive knowledge. So Professor Koino, over to you. Welcome and over to you.
I share my slide. Do you see my slide?
Yeah, thank you. Yes,
Okay.
slides are visible. Yes, slides are visible.
Okay, so I begin. I'm very honored to have a talk today. My title is The Three Kinds of Wisdom Inherited in the Vedas, Science, Tradition, and the Narrative. Sorry.
The slides are not moving.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Among the ancient Indian Vedic texts, the Brahmana literature was the first to establish explaining things as a distinct literary style. It is well known that from this style of the Brahmana literature, the rich tradition of Indian philosophy later emerged and flourished. The Brahmana literature provides explanations of Vedic rituals, describing ritual actions and elucidating their origins, reasons, meanings, and effects. Through these explanations of the origins, meanings, and effects of rituals, logical thinking and the construction of worldviews significantly developed. Within this literary style, a fixed expression repeatedly appears by knowing in this way. So, ya evam Veda. And performing the ritual, one attains the desired effect. The content of knowing in this way refers to the origins of the ritual actions and the reasons for performing them in that manner as explained in the context. It was believed that when performing ritual actions, understanding their correct meaning and significance would lead to the desired outcome. The Maitrayani Sanhita, which represent the earliest stage of Brahmana, states, for example, Tri Aha, Trishatya Hi Edeva. He speaks it 3 times. The gods manifest in 3 ways. Knowing thus, so Ya Evam Veda, his ritual or Brahman shines. The next example, Agner Jihvasi Evacho Visarjanam Iti. So with the mantra, you are the tongue of Agni, the release of the voice. He sprinkles the berry for the sacrificial cake into the mortar. This is what it means to secure the deities for his sacrifice. In this way, he has secured the deities for his sacrifice. Aruna Alpavesi used to say the following: before the offering are sacrificed, I let the oblation reach the deities. With a completed sacrifice, I will reach completion. Sorry. If he possessed this knowledge, so Ya Evam Veda, then his oblation reached the deities before the offering are sacrificed, and with a completed sacrifice, he reaches completion. In the next example, Prajapati va idamagrasit. In the beginning, this world was Prajapati, and he was oppressed by the plants with their growth. These plants are the asuras. When he tried to rise above them, he could not. He burnt with pain and heated himself. From his heat, Agni was created. When Agni was created, the radiance of the plants went to him, and they withered. Before that, they did not wither. Then Prajapati kindled Agni as his fire. That means that he performed the primordial fire establishment ritual, thinking, I shall thus overcome these here. And he overcame them. Therefore, the well-known, the sacrificial ritual fire is actually kindled for the purpose of overcoming. Just as Agni overcomes the plants, so too does he overcome his rival, his competitor, and adversity when he holds the Agni Adiya with this knowledge, Ya Evam Vidvan. The content indicated by knowing in this way can be understood as knowledge that substantiates the correct meaning and significance of the ritual. By knowing in this way and performing the ritual with this knowledge, his ritual shines, his offering reaches the god before the oblation is presented, and he overcomes rivals. It is precisely through knowledge that such effects are attained. Then, what kind of knowledge substantiated the origins and the significance of the ritual? It can be observed that three forms of wisdom, science, tradition, and the narrative which sustain human society were already established. Example 1 shows the knowledge that God manifests in three ways correspond to scientific wisdom. And example 2, the legendary ritual practice in which Aruna Aupaveshi, by using a mantra, enabled his offering to reach the god. It corresponds to the wisdom of tradition. And example 3 shows the knowledge of Prajapati's primordial fire establishment ritual and how it enabled him to overcome the plants. This represents the wisdom of narrative. In this presentation, I will focus on the three types of wisdom found in the Maitrani Sanhita. So first, scientific attitude. As seen above, Maitrani Sanhita 1459 consider the truth about the God as the content of knowledge. He speaks it three times. The God manifests in three ways. Knowing this, thus his ritual or Brahman shines. The ritual act described here is speaking three times. The basis for this act is the fact that the God manifests in three forms. This means that the gods take on different appearances in the three realms of heaven, atmosphere, and earth. In particular, it is known that Agni appears as fire on earth, as Vayu, as wind in the atmosphere, and the sun in heaven. If one possesses this knowledge, he obtains the effect that their ritual shines brilliantly. Here, the content of knowledge is the truth about the gods. Gods take on different appearances in the three realms. So this is succinctly expressed by the principle that the God manifests in three forms, which can be considered a scientific attitude. Of course, modern science would provide a different explanation for fire, wind, and the sun. However, the pursuit of fundamental principles underlying phenomena was already established in Vedic religion, and this can be regarded as the establishment of a scientific attitude. The following example also demonstrates scientific knowledge because the sacrificial gift consists of three lactating females. The world here are three. He has made the world here lactating for him. He makes the world here ready to give milk for him. He milks them who are ready to give milk for him when he possesses this knowledge. So ya evan Veda. In this example, the content of knowledge is that by giving as gifts those three lactating, so cow, goat, and human, as wet nurses, one can cause the three worlds to produce milk. This expresses the mechanism of the world, namely the principle of nature within a worldview centered on the world consisting of three realms, where the three types of gifts determine the condition of the three worlds. Seeing the same nature and the same principle in both the world bounty and the act of lactating animals producing milk reflects a scientific attitude rooted in constant observation of the bounty of nature and the resources from domesticated animals. And this represents also a classification based on inherent properties. And this example shows the taxonomy, and yes, the example, the Agnihotra is offered for the lifespan. He passes through his entire life if he possesses this knowledge, yeah, Evan Veda. And the new and full moon sacrifice are performed for eyesight, and the Chaturmasya sacrifice are performed for hearing ability. The Soma ritual is performed for voice and self. Here, the four rituals, Agnihotra, Darshapurnamasa, Chaturmasya, and the Soma ritual, are categorized under the respective domains of lifespan, eyesight, hearing ability, and voice. This reflects a systematic understanding of rituals and bodily functions, establishing a correspondence between the two. As seen above, the Brahman of the Vedas demonstrate a scientific attitude by taking nature and the world as subject of inquiry, striving to express principles in the most concise form possible, identifying relationships between based on inherent properties and engaging in classification. Such an approach was already well established in Vedic thought, and we can also see the emergence of taxonomy, which became particularly characteristics of Indian philosophy. The next category of wisdom that forms the basis of knowing in this way is a ritual practice carried out by predecessors. Let us examine the example 2. With the mantra, you are the tongue of Agni, the release of the voice. He sprinkles the berry for the sacrificial cake into the mortar. This is what it means to secure the deities for his sacrifice. Aruna Alpabeshi used to say the following: before the offering are sacrificed, I let the oblation reach the deities. With the completed sacrifice, I will reach completion. If he possesses this knowledge, then his operation reaches the deities before the offering are sacrificed. The ritual act described here involved placing the grains, which serves as the sacrificial material, into a mortar while speaking the mantra, you are Agni's tongue, and the liberation of speech. The mortar is referred to as Agni's tongue and the liberation of speech because it will soon produce sounds as the grains are ground. Since the mortar, which crushes the grains, is identified as Agni's tongue, this act symbolically represents securing Agni. So the opposition, Agni is all deities, is well known, and the act of placing grains into the mortar while reciting this mantra produces the effect of securing the deities. My Translation 1.4 is a chapter that describes the role of the sacrificer in the new and full moon sacrifice. A central concern in this chapter is, will the gods come to my ritual during the new and full moon sacrifice? This concern arises because the new and full moon sacrifice is known as Samrita Yajna, that is, many people are performing rituals simultaneously. So therefore, securing the gods as early as possible becomes the main object. This is where the mantra demonstrates its effectiveness, as evidenced by the legendary sacrificer Aruna Alpabesi. He claimed that by using this method, he was able to deliver the offerings to the gods even before they were offered in the fire. So normally, delivering the offering to the god is completed at the end of the ritual. However, in Aruna Alpabeshi's case, the offering had already reached the god during the preparation stage. Thus, by the time the ritual was formally completed, the sacrifice was already fully accomplished. And the present-day sacrificer, by understanding this method and its mechanism, can achieve the same effect. The knowledge here is based on what the predecessor Aruna Alpabeshi practiced. It is evident that the method and the theories established by legendary predecessors have been carefully preserved and passed down. This reflects an attitude that values traditions. Nowadays, knowledge is being traditional knowledge is being re-evaluated, particularly in matters concerning the human body and mind. Not only scientific approaches, but also the well-being brought by traditional knowledge is gaining renewed attention. The Brahmana of the Vedas demonstrate an approach to traditional knowledge that respects the wisdom of predecessors. Narrative. The pinnacle of the three types of wisdom in the Brahmana is a narrative. As seen above, scientific wisdom is extremely concise. Traditional knowledge was somewhat more volume. However, narrative is overwhelmingly more voluminous in comparison. Narratives recount narratives recount the actions performed by the gods in ancient times, and in many cases, they are long stories that trace back to the very beginning of the world. In the beginning, this world was Prajapati. He was oppressed by the plants with their growth. These plants are the asuras. When he tried to rise above them, he could not. He burned with pain and heated himself. From this heat, Agni was created. When Agni was created, the radiance of the plants went to him, and they withered. Then Prajapati kindled Agni as his fire, thinking, I shall thus overcome these here. And he overcame them. Therefore, the ritual fire is actually kindled for the purpose of overcoming. Just as Agni overcame the plants, so too does he overcome his rival competitor, when he holds the Agni Adeya with this knowledge. Sorry. Sorry, the slide. Okay. Next. Okay, at the beginning of the world, only Prajapati existed, and then plants were born, and they covered him, and he was unable to overcome them. This likely reflects the image of dense jungle that obstructed the path of early people as they moved in search of settlements. Prajapati suffered the produced fire that drew in the radiance of the plants, causing them to wither. This suggests that cleaning the jungle to advance was not easy, and it was only after people learned to use fire effectively or the jungle withered due to climate change, I don't know, but they could overcome the jungle. In the myth, Prajapati is said to have conquered the plants and then performed the first Agni Adeya. In other words, by permanently maintaining Agni, fire, a way was opened to continuously keep the vegetation under control. The text then declared, this is why Agni Adeya is performed, for the purpose of overcoming. Here, the mythical beginning of the world, Prajapati's creation of Agni, and the first Agni Adeya and the conquest of difficulties are directly connected to the purpose of the Agni Adeya performed in the present day. Thus, the conclusion is drawn that if one establishes the sacred fire with this understanding, just as Agni overcomes plants, one will be able to overcome enemies and adversity. The knowledge here likely include the story of world beginning, leading up to Prajapati's primordial Agni Adeya, and the significance of this act continuing to live on in the modern day Agni Adeya. This is precisely what constitutes a narrative. A narrative is what supports our identity, answering that question, where do we come from and who are we? The power of narrative is articulated by different authors in the following ways. Man is a storytelling animal, and the narrative is at the very core of self-understanding and the social understanding. And the narrative serves as a communication that transcends individual stories, linking one generation to the next, and the one era to another, from the present to the future, etc., etc. Or the brain's
Professor, you have to wind it up. Yeah, the time limit. Due to time limit, you have to wind it up. Yeah.
Okay. Can I have conclusion?
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you.
Yes, it is my conclusion. In the Brahmana of the Vedas, we see that science, tradition, narrative are already firmly established. Scientific wisdom and traditional knowledge continue to support human society even today, and the fact that such attitudes were already present in the Vedas several thousand years ago indicates that Vedic wisdom had already attained universality. Among the three types of wisdom, narrative does not merely recount myth. Rather, within its storytelling, it weaves together a worldview and tradition, convincingly demonstrating that these elements sustain the present world. The author believes that this Vedic narrative is not meaningful only to the people of India. This is because narrative evokes the feeling that our ancestors have ever engaged in such endeavors. They generate a sense that because of this, we exist as we are today. The myth of the Maitrani Sanhita narrates the hardships of people as they cleared and settled the land, even for those who do not worship Prajapati or who have never performed Agni Adeya. These myths still evoke the sentiment that our ancestors have engaged in such endeavors. In this sense, the Vedic narrative speaks universally to all of humanity. In today's world, where AI is becoming increasingly prominent, the questions, what is a human being and what is human nature, are more important than ever. Narrative is a vital form of wisdom that can provide answers to these questions. The Vedic narratives answer the questions, where do we come from and who are we, and serves as a powerful foundation for human identity. So that's all. Sorry for the overtime. Thank
No
you very
problem.
much.
Thank you so much. The presentation was really nice. Thank you. Thank you for engaging us with uh, uh, the three kind of wisdom. Thank you so much. So, is there any question? Is there any
Yes,
questions?
ma'am.
Yeah, please.
Hello,
Yeah.
am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Please go
Yes,
ahead.
I have also put it in my chat box as well.
Okay.
Hello, madam. Kyoko, madam. Your presentation was very good.
Thank you.
Uh, but I would just like to comment on the um, interpretation of Maitrani Samhita 1.61. May I?
Yes.
So I think 1.6 talks more about introducing the newly identified season, which is equal to the fire, which burns everything. And I believe that the number of seasons show gradual development over the period of time through the Vedic literature. So they developed from 3 to 6. So Shishira was the latest introduced season.
Yes,
And
yes.
we can also trace this tradition of identifying seasons as something which is emerged from Prajapati or Brahmadeva even in Puranic literature as well. Puranas, it is mentioned that the seasons were the sons of Brahmadeva, or the seasons were the sons of Prajapati. So
Yes.
I was just attempted to comment upon the interpretation of the verse. So
Okay,
just
okay.
to
Yeah,
add something.
thank you for the comment. Yes. Yes, the myth or this narrative had so rich meaning actually. So yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
So, thank you. Is there any other comment or any questions from the participant sides? Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Korko. So, we will proceed further and with the next speaker. So
Thank
we have
you.
a next speaker, Ni Wayan Ariati. Is she here in the presentation, in the session? Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So she is from Bali, Indonesia, and she is going to talk on indigenous epistemology in India and South Asian countries and its potential to challenge Western knowledge hegemony. So over to you, Professor. Go ahead.
Thank you, Manju ji. Thank you. Namaste, everyone. Greeting from Bali. Yeah, I would like to share my PowerPoint because so by showing the PowerPoint will be easier to present my paper. It takes me a while. Okay. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, your PowerPoint is visible.
Okay, yeah. Okay, my presentation actually about the transformation of the Indic goddess, the goddess Durga, from a divine into demonic goddess. Yeah, this is my full name, Ni Wayan Ariati. I'm the academic counselor and researcher, and I'm presenting paper today for the Indian International Seminar. Okay, in this presentation, I would like to do some introduction about the talk. So when I was in India, I worked in India for 2 years in Jaipur. So I was kind of surprised to see the goddess Durga was so different from what I know in Bali. The goddess Durga in India was kind of depicted as a beautiful warrior goddess, while in Bali, the goddess Durga was depicted as a demonic goddess, as the queen of the black magic in Bali. So therefore, I was very interested in knowing more about the goddess Durga. Why is so different between the goddess in India and the goddess in Bali? So therefore, I actually applied for some scholarship to do more research about the goddess Durga both in India and in Indonesia. So because talking about the goddess Durga, it was very dangerous according to my grandfather, who is a priest in the Purodalam, or the temple dedicated to Durga and Siva. So therefore, my grandfather informed me to kind of do some ceremonies called Yatra and Jatra. And then he said, the goddess Durga is so dangerous. Don't dare to say her name, so you can be in deep trouble. That is what my grandfather said. And then I told him, actually, I really want to do my research on the goddess Durga. Please tell me, what should I do? I said. And then my grandfather said, okay, you can do that as long as you can, do some ceremony to the goddess Durga first. And then therefore I did the yatra, and then I worshiped the goddess Durga in my temple in the village. And then after that, I actually went to a temple across the ocean, and I spent a night there in the temple just to worship the goddess Durga, in order I get some permission to mention her name both in written and also in spoken while I do the interview. So after getting the permission from the goddess Durga in the temple, I went back to India and then did my research in India. And mostly I talked to people in India about the priests and then scholar and from all walk of life in India. And then I got really interesting information. There are some women actually named Durga, and then I was amazed why woman can have name Durga, while in Bali, absolutely we are not allowed to even mention her name. So. And also I did a literary research, and then mostly literary work has connection with the goddess Durga. In this matter, I mostly focus on Markandeya Purana, especially about the Devi Mahatmya, where actually the narration is about the birth of the goddess Durga. And yeah, the question here that in my presentation is, how can a beautiful warrior goddess transform into a demonic figure? What are the main factors of the demonization of the image Durga? To answer that question, I would like to share my kind of preparation. Yeah, I will inform you about my preparation before doing the research on the goddess Durga, that I did ceremonies to worship the goddess Durga. Okay, as you know, this is the image of the goddess Durga, traditional image on the left side, and then contemporary image of the goddess Durga in India. Okay, now I would like to talk about the mythological background of the goddess Durga, how actually the goddess Durga being born into a warrior goddess in India. So I based my research actually on the Devi Mahatmya, as I said. So according to Devi Mahatmya, a long time ago, it was mentioned in 6th century CE, the god has enemies called Mahisasura. So Mahisasura actually attacked the heaven, where they defeated all gods, and then demoralized the gods, and then the Mahisasura can occupy the kingdom of heaven. So that's why the gods went to Kailasha, where God Shiva did the meditation. So the god informed Shiva that the heaven has been attacked by Mahisasura, the buffalo demon. So the god Shiva was very angry, and then from his forehead emerged light. From the light of Shiva, accompanied by light of other gods, like emerged beautiful goddess called the goddess Durga. And then the goddess Durga finally sent to finally the goddess Durga was sent to the battlefield to fight with the Mahisasura. But before she went to the battlefield, the god Shiva gave her a lion as the vehicle, and then also gave a trident, the Trishula, for her weapons, and then also other gods gave her weapons, powerful weapons, in order they can, in order the goddess Durga can defeat Mahisasura. And in the battlefield, the goddess Durga actually challenged the Mahisasura, the buffalo demon, for a fight. But Mahisasura was kind of, hesitate to fight against a beautiful woman. So instead of fighting with Durga, he invited her to be a wife. Okay, come, be my wife, and then let's fight in the bedchamber. And then finally, Durga got angry. So only those who can defeat me in the battlefield can be the, husband in my bedchamber. That's what she said. Okay, that's a little bit about the mythological background of the birth of Durga in India. Now I would like to continue with the how actually the worship of Durga being transferred to Indonesia. Okay, this is Indonesia. Yeah, so the population is like 281.2 million. Yeah, mostly Islam, and then only small percentage of Hindus in Indonesia, and then there are like 250 ethnic languages, around 17,000 islands in Indonesia, large and small. Okay, historical background of Durga Indonesia. So Durga, the worship of Durga to Indonesia was came with the worship of Shiva. So mostly Durga was installed in the form of like traditional Durga, like the iconography, like installed in the Shiva temple. So in Central Java, the image of Durga Mahisasura Mardini was installed in Candi Prambanan in Central Java, and also we found in Candi Jawi in East Java, and also Singasari, and the demonic Mahisasura Mardini was also installed in East Java. Okay, here is the Candi Prambanan Hindu temple complex, where actually the image of Durga being installed here, and this is Candi Siwa, the tallest temple in the Prambanan temple complex, and then Candi Vishnu, and then this is Brahma on the south. And here you can see here, because Shiva is the highest deity in the Hindu pantheon, so that's why the shrine is the tallest. That's like symbolizing the Mount Kailasha of Himalaya. Okay, here is actually where the goddess of Durga Mahisasura Mardini was installed in the Shiva temple. Yeah. Okay, here's Candi Brahma on the left, and then Candi Shiva in the middle, and Candi Vishnu on the north. Okay, this is the image of the goddess Durga in Central Java. So similar to the goddess Durga Mahisasura Mardini in India, with like characteristic are the same, like having some eight arms, and the buffalo demon here, and then also here is the buffalo demon in the form of a real buffalo. And here is Durga Mahisasura Mardini in East Java. It's a bit more like a kind of more in the form of like a warrior goddess, like we can see like she is in the Pratilydia form, position. with the buffalo on the bottom, and then also Mahisasura already becoming like a human form, like a dwarf. Okay, this is also Durga in East Java, and she is indeed Durga by name. Yeah, so like she is conquering the three world, like you know, the upper world, middle world, and also the nether world. Okay, the image of Durga has been depicted as demonic form since East Javanese period in 13th to 14th century CE to the present time. In Bali, Durga is considered to be the queen of black magic practitioner and identified with her disciple called Rangda. So that's why people in Bali still got confused between Durga and Rangda, because they consider Rangda similar to Durga. Actually, they are different. One is the goddess, one is like the practitioner of the black magic. The mythic definition of Durga is recorded in folk tales, literary works, and dramatic performances, including Sudamala Tale, Rare Angon, and Calonarang, to mention a few. Okay, this is the image of Durga, which has been depicted as like a demonic form, but you know, still the same, have some Indian characteristic, but in this case, Durga is depicted as having fang, you know, like the demonic characteristic. This is in East Java temple called Candi Rindu. This is about the 14th century CE image of the goddess Durga. And also in the bas relief in East Java, there is a relief of Candi Tegawangi. This is where the bas relief depicted Durga as the demonic form, just like that. And yeah, you can see the transformation from a beautiful warrior goddess in East Java into this demonic goddess, also in East Java, having like completely demonic characteristic with the disabled hair, like fang, and then budging eyes, and then also lolling tongue, all the same disabled hair. Yeah. Okay, now I would like to take you to Bali. This is Bali, small island, but very famous for tourists. And then in Bali, we also have the goddess Durga. This is the goddess Durga installed in Puri Pura Dalam Putri in Buruan. Yeah, the characteristic of the goddess Durga Mahisasura Madina is similar to India, Central Java and East Java, but she has Balinese characteristic. So one of the weapons actually has the Chris knife, like the dagger, so like a characteristic of Balinese weapons. And this is also another Durga, also installed in Samoan Tiga. It's like the ancient temple of Hindu kingdom. Okay, this is the paintings of Shiva and Durga, so depicted in the story of Sudamala. Okay, in this image, there was a meeting between three gods, like telling Shiva that Dewi Uma, the beautiful Uma here, the beautiful Uma in the middle here, has an affair with the god Brahma, and then Shiva, without asking the truth about what happened to Uma, Batari Uma, cursed Uma into demonic Durga. Yes, demonic Durga, who must stay in the graveyard or a cremation ground for 12 years until being exorcised or purified by Shiva itself through Sadewa. This is a very famous kind of performance in Bali called Calonarang. So this kind of exorcistic ceremony still performed until this time, especially during the temple festival. And also here in the temple images, like in the wall of the temple, especially the temple dedicated to Shiva and Durga. So we see here the image of Sadewa being tied up, and then this is the demonic Durga would like to eat the Sadewa, but she couldn't eat Sadewa because Sadewa has been immortality or being blessed by Shiva to be immune, not to be eaten by Durga. So finally, from this exorcism, so Sadewa transformed demonic Durga into beautiful Uma again. So through the exorcistic ceremony. Yeah. Okay, this is like a mantra, like a magical drawing of the goddess Durga as the kind of, when we have this kind of magical drawing, so we believe that we can have like a protection from the evil being. Okay, and then also, according to one of the story in the Calonarang story, Durga, especially the devotee of Durga is called Rangda. So she did a lot of, like disaster to human being because the goddess Durga in the demonic form need to eat a corpse, like dead body in the cemetery. So therefore, the goddess Durga let her devotee Rangda to spread the disease in order there are some people died in order Durga in the demonic form will have something to eat in the graveyard. Okay, this is the story. Before she spread the disease to the community, and then they dance together. Let's dance one by one. I want to see your dance movement, and then when the time comes, we will all dance together. Yeah, and then during the sacrifice, there was someone died during the auspicious day, and then the disciple of Rangda revived that body into life, and then they chopped down the head of that man to eat the, to drink the blood and so to wash their face with the blood. Only after that they will spread the disease from all four directions of the village. It is the performance still exists in Bali until this present time. So this is we consider like the devotee of Durga in the form of Rangda, and her disciples must perform the dance first before they sacrifice the human being and before they spread the diseases to the human being. Okay, the exorcism ceremony. So Durga must be exorcised by Batara Guru or Siwa, who accomplished the exorcism by entering Sadewa. Sadewa is the youngest twin of the Pandawa brothers. Yeah, so after the demonic Durga being exorcised by Siwa through Sadewa, the twin, the youngest twin of Pandawa brothers, so finally Durga, the demonic Durga, transformed into this Uma, beautiful Uma, one more time, and then unite with her husband in heaven. Okay, you can see here is the pandal in Calcutta that I saw, and then also this is the statue on the right, and then the statue of Durga in the temple of Purudalam. Yeah. So okay, here I can, this is my speculation actually, a few factors that like cause the transformation of the goddess Durga into demonic. So the result of the thinking of Indonesian writers who have been inserted with the like norm and also local tradition to position women in the patriarchal world, so we have to be, like inferior to men world. Yeah. The figure of Durga Mahesasura Mardini as the goddess of war may be considered like too extreme and too provocative by people who adhere to the patriarchal system, especially in Java and Bali. So the image of Durga Mahesasura Mardini in several literary works like Gatot Gajah Seraya and then also some inscription. So she was depicted as the goddess of indulging in eating blood and drinking blood and also eating like raw meat in the forest. So by having that kind of depiction of Durga, people must think, oh, Durga must be demonic, kind of that. And then other development that occurred, the goddess Durga based on Calonarang literary work is the goddess Durga is equated or confused with her loyal devotees or called Rangda Indira. Okay, this is my opinion. The vulnerability as widowhood status for women in the world. So as a widow, we are very vulnerable actually. So people always think negative about the widow. Okay, Durga was okay. Conclusion here. Durga was originally a very attractive figure in public, but eventually she became demonized through some literary work and then also some like images in the temples, especially in the form of statue and also bas-relief. The image of Durga was demonized through the composition of myth that marginalized women, characterizing them as morally loose and in need of control by male authority figures. Dramatic characterization of Durga Ranga in Bali theater were effective tools that limited the power of women in Bali. Yeah. The studies of manuscripts still very significant roles in the dynamic society and contemporary culture to preserve cultural tradition to gain valuable guidance for virtuous life.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there any questions from the participant side? No questions. Although the session was really interesting, you discussed about the transformation of Goddess Durga. Thank you so much. Thank you. So let us begin further. We have Dr. Chung Hui Tusi. Is she here in our presentation? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. She is from Hong Kong, and she talked about the identification of the sculptural culture in the wall painting. So over to you, Doctor.
Okay.
Thank you
for your invitation. I would like to share with you my research on the Buddhist scribal culture and identification of mural painting from Xinjiang. Okay, I would like to share with my PPT first.
Your slides are visible.
Okay. Okay. So maybe some of you already know Xinjiang is in a location in a very important strategic point in China, in the northwestern part of China, and it is also a place very important in along the Silk Road. And there are many early Buddhist temples, Buddhist cave were built from very early time, probably from the 2nd to 3rd century AD onwards. There are many Buddhist cave temple and Buddhist temple were built along the Silk Road, especially in Xinjiang. I have found a group of the Buddhist fragment mural painting from a Buddhist ancient ruin from Shochuk. It was in the location, it was in near Yanqi. So in the standing collection in the British Museum, there is a group of mural fragments depicting a few Buddhist monks inscribing sutra inside cave. Even since the fragments were discovered by oral staining from the Buddhist temple ruin in Shochuk, Yanqi in Xinjiang, the meaning behind the painting remain unexplored. In addition to the sutra transcribing scene, the set of fragments shows a well-organized translation team during the Kuchok-Uyghur period in the northern Tarim Basin. Based on the study of the mural, this paper explore the development of Buddhist translation activities from Han Jing to the Tang Dynasty around 2nd to the 10th century. Thus, the mural may reflect that during the Uyghur period, the Buddhist cave temple also served scribal workshops for sutra translation and transcription, which the works can then be further disseminated. So here are a few fragments from the group of the fragment mural painting from Shochuk, from Xinjiang. So you can see the image of the scribal monk and also the transcribing and translation of the Buddhist team. So here is the original group of the fragment because they were cut into pieces and brought to British Museum from the early 20th century. However, all the mural painting, the fragment, were still preserved in the museum, not yet being studied and explored of the meaning. So after the discovering of the mural painting, it was only recorded in from 1906 and 1937, and only recorded in the catalog in Japan. From 1962, Kumagaki Nobuo, it was recorded in the volume 2 of the fragment, and also it was only indicated by Kumagai Nobue in Japan. He only indicate the mural painting is monk, is image of monk. He didn't explain what they are doing. And in the 2016, Professor Wicken, he studied the mural. However, he didn't indicate what is the group of the fragment, what are they working together. So here is a ruin in ancient time, and it is also a very important Buddhist temple site from around 4th century onwards by the eminent Buddhist monk Fa Xian. He was a pilgrimage monk in around the 4th century to early 5th century. He recorded in his travel record about the temple. He traveled to the site, Yanqi. He mentioned and recorded in his record. He recorded that there are over 4,000 Theravada monks lived in the temple. And also he indicated in the 5th century, Buddhism was prosper in this area. So based on the travel record by Fa Xian, we know that the Buddhist pilgrimage monk Fa Xian, he traveled to India he traveled from China to India by land routes from central China, Chang'an, and then he returned from India to China by the sea routes. So he recorded the ancient ruin of Yanqi in his record through his traveling from Chang'an to Xinjiang. So Yanqi is the first location recorded by Fa Xian. So Yanqi, the ruin include the south and the north area with the temple architecture and the cave sites. And there are 93 large architecture ruins and 11 cave remain, unearthed with clay Buddha and Bodhisattva statue and mural fragment. And here you can see the temple structure with the building of the Buddhist temple, and also with the building of the vihara in the temple ruin. And there are also several Buddhist temple ruin remain in Yanqi site. So you can see here are a few remain of the ancient ruin. According to the travel record by the later master Buddhist monk Xuanzang, he also indicate there are some 10 or more Sankarama with 2,000 priests also, belonging to the little vehicle, that is the Theravada tradition. And the doctrine of the sutra and the requirements of the Vedaya are in agreement with those in India. And the books from which they study are the same. So here is a very clearly records by the Master Xuanzang during the Tang Dynasty when Master Xuanzang visited the Yanqi site. And based on the archaeological discovery of the ancient ruin, archaeologists, they also discover the image of the sculpture of the Buddha or Bodhisattva. And the sculpture artistic style, it also reflects a strong influence from the Gandharan artistic style. And also there are the Buddhist manuscript fragments were unearthed from the site. And the manuscript, it was written with a very important ancient drama that is written with the Toharian script with the meeting of Maitreya. And based on the study of the ancient ruin of the sculpture, manuscript, and also the temple structure and the mural painting, we explore the importance of the transmission of the scribing culture, and also as a very important site for the translation center of Yanqi, because in ancient time, the transmission of Buddhist sutra, it relied on the handwritten. So the tradition in Chinese culture and also in Buddhist tradition, it could be divided into 4 phases for the transmission of the Buddhist text in ancient time, from the pure handwritten manuscript to the block printed manuscript to the modern printed books, and also the contemporary digitalized electronic version book. So here we have a few fragments from the mural painting fragment. So you can see the image of the Buddhist monk. They are working together to transmit of the by oral transmission of Buddhist doctrine, and also by the transcribing of the Buddhist doctrine by Buddhist scribe. And you can also see the seated on the chair. It is he was the eminent and the leading master of the transcribing and translation team. And also there is another eminent monk who was also transmission of the Buddhist text to his disciple. So you can see they are all holding the manuscript and also the pen in hands. So based on the group of the mural painting, the fragment also indicate they are working together. So from the left-hand side, you can see there is a monk bowing to the master. And then here is a group of the monks. They are working together, showing that they are discussing the content of the transcribing before transcribing the text. And here we can see the group of the monk. They are transcribing and copy the teaching from the master. So it shows a process of translation by the translation team. So what are they doing? By study of the ancient texts that were translated by Kumarjiva, in the text, it also indicates there is a very strict rule for the transmission of Buddhist teaching. In the Mahaprajna Paramita Sastra, in the text, it explains, furthermore, although born among humans, the Buddha nevertheless acts as a Mahapurusha. Despite his great compassion, Karuna, he does not preach without being invited. If he preached without an invitation, he would be criticized by the heretics, and therefore first must be invited. So it shows that at the beginning, before Buddha's preaching the Dhamma, before he entering into Nirvana, the Buddha was invited by the Brahma to preach the Dhamma. So it became the tradition in Buddhist translation team. So before the Buddhist master oral transmission of the Buddhist doctrine, his disciple should invite the great master to deliver the Buddhist sutra. So Brahma Sahamati then became aware of what was going on in the Buddha's mind. Distressed at the Buddha's hesitancy, he thought, the world will be lost, utterly perish, since the mind of the Tathagata, the Arhat, the Supreme Buddha, inclines to action and not toward preaching the Dhamma. So he appeared before the Buddha, respectfully stooped with his right knee to the ground, paid homage, and appealed to him to teach. So let the exalted one preach the Dharma. There are beings with little dust in their eyes. They are wisdom from the hearting the Dharma. There will be those who will understand the Dharma. So this is from the text. It reflects the tradition for asking the Buddha to preach the Dharma. So the tradition is also preserved in Gandhara sculpture. In Gandhara sculpture, it also shows a sequence of the depiction of the life story of the Buddha. And this is one thing before the Buddha entering into Nirvana. The Brahma also invited the Buddha to preach the Dharma. So in the mural painting, the fragment from Yanqi from Xinjiang, it also shows the tradition. The Buddhist disciple, the monks, they also invited the great master for oral transmission of the Buddha's teaching. So this is an image of the monk. He invited the master for oral transmission. And here is a scene. It reflects the group of the monk transcribing and a copy of the Buddhist sutra. So this is a scene preserved in Xinjiang, in Yanqi. It reflects the Buddhist tradition for the preserving and transcribing and a copy of the Buddhist sutra in Buddhist cave temple. So the tradition for the transmission of Buddhist texts, it was also recorded in ancient Buddhist sutra in many texts in China. It shows that there is a process for the transmission of the Buddhist sutra. And in the translation team, there is a main translator for oral translation. And there is a process for translation or transmission of the meaning of languages. And also there are the scribe, transcribe or write down by the Buddhist scribe. His name was Bishou. And there is a process for proofreading and correcting the meaning. And then later, there is a group of the Buddhist scribe. They are copying for circulation. So this is the tradition preserved in the mural painting in Xinjiang. It shows that this is a sequence and a process in the translation team. So based on the identification of the mural painting, I also identified the mural painting. It was repainted later. Although the mural painting, it was dated, were made in the Uyghur period in the around the 8th to 9th century. However, by the repainted brush line here, we can see the painting, it was repainted later. Probably the painting, it was created much earlier. So you can identify there are 4 eyebrows, there are 4 eyes, and there are 2 ears of the monks. So the mural, it was later repainted in later period by the identification of the second or repainted brush strokes. So the tradition for the translation and transcribing of Buddhist tradition, it was preserved very well in Sri Lanka. So we can see the tradition in Sri Lanka is very similar to the mural painting in Xinjiang in China. And also there is another image of the Buddhist monks. He's also a scribe or a monk writing or reading the sutra. It was found in the Ajanta cave. We can identify it is on the left-hand side.
Sorry to interrupt you, Professor. It's time to wind up if you can conclude it as early as.
Thank you. So we can find the tradition from India. So the image of the Xinjiang, it reflects the tradition. So I conclude the mural fragment from the Buddhist temple ruin in Shotruk, Yanqi, Xinjiang reflect the Buddhist site was probably an important Buddhist center for Buddhist sutra workshop. And the image of scribal culture contain very strong Indian cultural element. And based on the repainted brush line drawing of the painting, it suggests the mural were created earlier than the Gaochang Uyghur period, earlier than the 9th century. Okay, thank you for your attention. This is my sharing of my study.
Thank you so much. So is there any questions from the participant side or any comment? Thank you so much, Professor, for sharing us the architecture and the literature of the wall paintings. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
So moving further, I really welcome the other speaker, Dr. Uttara Ash Korawala. Is she here in the? Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. So she is from New York, USA, and she's going to talk on the reflection on how the dancing body knows and auto episteme of dancing. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My humble apologies that it never occurred to me to make a presentation, a visual presentation.
No problem, no problem. Go ahead, please.
So I'm going to go ahead with just reading. So reflections on how the dancing body knows and how the dancing body, what it knows, an auto-epistemology of dancing. I draw from the experience of dancers Kalanidhi Narayanan, Malvika Sarukai, Birju Maharaj, and myself to illustrate a few concepts about embodied experience. So, a woman in jeans is on the upper ledge. You can hear me? Yeah. Of the Sun Temple of Konark. She has a camera strung around her neck. She is perilously high up with no protective barriers other than the sloping stone parapet. She's a little shorter than the larger-than-life-size statues of dancers and musicians on that level. She touches a stone and tries to photograph it, but there is no maneuvering space to back away. She carefully replicates the position of the stone Gandharva, checking all the body parts. She cannot achieve the rounded effect of the stone. Her muscles are too tense. She moves over to the next statue and tries again. And again. And again. And as she repeats this moving around the temple, gradually her body settles into comfort. When she circled back to where she began, I became aware that I had actually been dancing. Yes, it was I who was on the temple wall, but it was also not I. It was Uttara in 1978, a different woman, a different knowledges, different skills than the one who speaks now. With the hindsight of more than 35 years since that experience, I believe that I learned something that morning from the storms. Not only was each figure meticulously present, but there was the experience of sequential embodying one after another complex space shapes. Then again, there were spaces between each of these figures, and the heightened awareness of negotiating the danger of this escapade. Between the images became filled by my connects with classical ballet and Martha Graham technique, but I was unaware of this until my dancer friends, choreographer Chandralekha and dancer writer Sunil Kothari, referred to these connections as joineries. I cite them because their observations gave me insight into my unconscious process. I had arrived at a system for connecting sculptural poses outside the Indian Sanskritized traditions, and so begins my reflections on the dance body and how it knows. Continuous inner engagement with the subjectivities frozen in the stone carvings drives this paper. Stones, originally inspired by dance, now inspire us to dance and to write. And a recurring encounter with an endless past drives this investigation of the relationship between present-day dance making and dance writing. Ugh. The memory of days in Cuttack and Konark are a dream that keeps repeating. In between then and now, I have often recognized moves made by dancers. A kind of recognition was always startling because it connects my inner idealized dream space with an external stage material body and with social constructions of Indianness, as represented in this case in particular by the Odissi repertoire. Perhaps this was the meaning of Rahasya Mudra in the sculptures. The secret, the Rahasya, was the experiential knowledge that they pass on, a knowledge that bypasses sentences and words, but is as real. This has always been my dilemma. Sensations and images versus logical, external verbal confirmations. How should I live every day with what discourse tells me that I cannot know, but which I know that I know? Why is it so hard? I am not alone in this struggle. I'm reminded here of a conversation with Kalanidhi Narayanan. She was the teacher of teachers of Rohingya. For example, Kalanidhi Narayanan was talking about generational differences in perceptions of hereditary dancers. She said, when people talk about their customs, I feel so very bad, but I don't speak out. First of all, I can't argue. She pauses. Then she says, I don't know how to argue. Kalanidhi Mami knows how to teach us to perform emotions in traditionally prescribed ways. For example, when she teaches us how to construct a padam or a javali, very deep emotions. But she herself was painfully aware of her inability to negotiate her own emotions in social situations where she disagreed strongly. She is unable to speak. A well-brought-up Brahmin lady, she never learned the social skills of disagreeing. For that, she needed another discourse. I argue that learning can often bypass the mediation of spoken languages, especially when experience is imbibed directly or visually by senses. For example, Philip Zerilli, professor of theater and performance at the University of Madison, Wisconsin, spent years avidly studying Kalaripayat and Kathakali in Kerala. His deep understanding of these practices is evidenced in his books. He must have struggled to translate the new strange body language he was acquiring into verbal language. One of his insightful and useful phrases is in-body transmission of knowledges, i.e., that movement, vocabularies, and praxis can be communicated from body to body. In the performative language of Kashmir Shaivism, we also come across this sense of cognition or recognition that is unmediated by verbal constructs, and it is known as pratyaksha. It involves direct recognition via the senses or manas. The body as a set of material systems, muscular, respiratory, digestive, procreative, neurologically, is incomplete because even though these mechanisms are offered, the systems dissect the still body. The dancer inhabits and grooms deliberately. It's rife with muscle memories, skills, and knowledges. Theorists speak of the Foucauldian body as an archive of lived experiences, or as in more indigenous language, as a vessel, as a patra of samskar, of bodies written over by previous experience, where each layer of actions embeds experience into our consciousness and onto our bodies. Here, in the context of constructing narrative dances, I would like to distinguish between non-verbal, pre-verbal, and post-verbal languages, or shall I say, systems for imagining movement. Most dance in general is non-verbal, in that abhinaya is performed by facial expressions, gestures, and body positions. In classical dance or modern dance, bodily action indicates emotion, angika abhinaya. However, most abhinaya, as performed by Indian dancers today, is definitely post-verbal, to the extent that the movement is inspired by language, by the lyrics of the song. This is very different from the modernist notions of dance as pre-verbal, where movement presents inchoate primal feeling that defies articulation and precedes speaking. Still, I ask, can dance be simultaneously pre-verbal to the extent that it expresses the primordial, inchoate aspects of being, and also post-verbal in that the same movements are sequenced in linguistic structures. For example, Shrangadeva of Sangeeta Ratnakar, chapter 7, verse 1 says, Angikam Bhuvan. This is a very popular phrase all dancers note, and it's also listed in Abhinaya Darpana, verse 1, in case there's any confusion. I know the world through my body. So the world is what my body knows. That means that I am what I contemplate. So by extension, the world is my body. Now, if that's the case, then who is dancing? If the same is true for you, that the world is your body, then who are you? And what is my identity? How am I simultaneously the world and not the world? This kind of questioning.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's time to conclude. Like if. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Yeah.
So let me get to my conclusion.
Thank you.
Okay. Body knowledges accumulate and gather insight and transcendence in performance. I have talked about dancing as materializing acts of living, concepts and ways of being, examples of how dance can materialize linguistic, spatial, and temporal structures. In committing these concepts to text within bicultural contexts, I aspire to shore up respect in academia for the conceptual sophistication that underpins dance in general and the Indian dance forms in particular. I leave you with a final thought on the politics of the deliberately apolitical engagement of dancers in search of transcendence. The responsibility to remind people that there are dilemmas in life are not mine. My responsibility is to create a pool of light, of vibrations which uplifts for time that they see me dance. And that was Sonal Mansingh at the East-West Dance Encounter in 1984. That's how I conclude.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doctor. So, is there any questions from the participant side? Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for the reflection of how the dancing and how know the dancing art from your session. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Moving ahead, we have another speaker with us, Dr. I. Gade Sutra from Bali. Dr. Sutra is here. Yeah, he's here. Thank you so much and welcome here in the conference. He's from Bali, Indonesia, and he's going to talk on India's imaginary on Bali tourism. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste, Honorable Professor Manju Khari, the chairwoman of appreciation, and also all of the presenters. We have very nice presentation in this session. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share my presentation. Yeah, it is about India imagery on Bali tourism. My name is Gede. I'm a lecturer in Universitas Indo Negeri Gusti Bagus Dewa, Indo University in Bali. As we know that Bali tourism started in 1920 when the colonial government promote the Bali destination to be the tourist destination to the Western people in 1920. And Bali promotes as a tourist destination because connected with the promotion of India, Orientalism at the time. That is because of the Oriental dancing and also Hindu ritual also at the time. And there were famous young dancer at the time in West Country. The name is Matahari. Matahari is very famous at the time because she had so many affairs also with the elite of Europe at the time. But Matahari introduced the Oriental dancing, not just Indian dancing, but also Javanese dancing and Indonesia dancing the others. So that's why Bali get benefit from the promotion of the of the Indian dancing, and also Indian philosophy also spread to the Europe at the time. Swami Vivekananda shared so many things about Hinduism in Chicago, America, and also there are many gurus from India promote Indian tradition and Indian culture in Europe. Because of that, Bali get benefit to tourist destination because the promotion of the culture and religion of India in the time. In 1920, the main interest of Bali tourism is culture and nature. In 1970 or in 1999, Bali started to develop the culture and nature with the good facilities of tourism to be the luxury destination, because Indonesia at the time gets so much money from the World Bank to develop the Bali destination at the time. In 1970, some Western spiritual tourists start to enter to Bali in 1970. There is some group from the New Age group and also the other spiritual group. But at the time, our government banned so many tourist groups because unfolded attitude of the spiritual tourists at the time. But after 1990, there are many tourists also come with more polite attitude to come to Bali and then practice yoga with their guru. Yeah. They bring the yoga guru from the Western and then practice yoga in Bali, because Bali get a luxury place and also the nature is very good for the spiritual practice. And after that, they started to find the local guru, Balinese guru, because they want to compare yoga in India and also with the yoga in Bali. This research, I think, this article, I think this is new one, yeah, because the research about the influences of India to Bali, especially to Indonesia, is very much. Yeah. For example, about the archaeological research from article, and also transformation of Bali religion influenced by the modern Indo-India movement by Akri Ramstead. Yeah, and this research how to describe the influences of India in the modern term like tourism. That is a new article. I think for me that is a very interesting. The aim of this article is to describe the trend of the spiritual tourism and the essence of the spiritual tourism and the imagery of India to the Bali tourism. Yeah, the trend of the spiritual tourism started in 1970, and then in 1980 and 1990, the yoga tourists started practice in Bali. And 1990 until now, there are many star hotel, yeah, luxury hotel, started to develop the yoga department, and there are many also the local studio developed well in Bali, and also traditional ashram also open for tourists in 90 until 2024 until now, and also in 2006, yeah, in 2006 there is a big movie in Hollywood, yeah. Then the title is Eighth Fry Law, published, and that movie promote Bali very well as a tourist destination, because the star of the movie, that is Julia Roberts, very famous actress and Hollywood at the time. So Bali get a benefit from this movie. So there are many tourists also come to Bali because of this movie. And the essence of spiritual tourism, that is because of the setting of the spiritual center in Bali, because of Orientalism, and also the place of setting of the spiritual, that is India continental and then India Ocean. And they want to get the value of mythology, charisma, and spiritual setting, something like a meaning of life and connected to the spirit, because Bali has a spirit of God, and there are many experience of tourists get so many experience about that in Bali. Yeah, and that is connected to the Hindu mythology. Because of there are many god of Hindu offering in Bali. Maybe you can hear before from the Arini, from the Arini, Professor Arini. She mentioned about the Durga. Durga is very famous goddess in Bali. And what is the imagery of India in spiritual tourism? That is about the charisma, mythology, and magical value. Yeah. That is come from connected to the ancient India mind figure Rishis, Rishi Markandeya. Rishi Markandeya believe it as a mind guru, Mahaguru of the Balinese people until today. And also Rishi Markandeya teach the Balinese people about the yoga and also some Hinduist practice for the Balinese people. So the imagery of India come from the main figure of the Rishi Markandeya, and also is teaching about the Hinduism in Bali. So that is connected to India. So that's why there are many tourists come to Bali, want to see the other India. And also some tourists from India also come to Bali because they want to see the other India, different India. And that is the imagery of India. Those exist in Bali until today, especially in Bali tourism. So my conclusion is the difference is Bali uniqueness in yoga tourism. That is because this difference distinguish the tourist experience. Yeah? Because the tourist, some tourists maybe practice yoga in India, but some tourists practice yoga in Bali. Their experience is different. It's unique. Yeah? In Bali, because they got so many, they had the experience, for example, come from the ritual. Balinese ritual is very local. As you know, that the Hindu is very different in every region, even in India also. So that's why Bali has a competitive uniqueness about spiritual tourism because of that. So I think that's all my presentation. Maybe we can continue our presentation with discussing the interesting topic. Thank you, Professor Manju, Khari.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Wait a second. Any questions from the participant side? No. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the insights, whatever you have given for the tourism industry. Like, because it initiated from 1920, and if we look into the today's era, it was spiritual tourism. Thank you so much. So as far as our sessions are concerned, they all lies on reimaging and reclaiming the knowledge tradition of Bharat beyond boundaries and definition. They all are actually lies with the theme of our conference. And as far as our the first session is concerned, it was started with the first speaker, a divine theory, and we started with the music, light music, a peaceful music of Mata Saraswati, and then initiated our rest speakers like Amano. She talked about the three kind of wisdom: scientific attitude, traditional knowledge, and narratives, and the experience of research. What she did in terms of kind of wisdom. Then we have Dr. Atari, and she talked about the uh, uh, divine, the transformation of goddess divine Durga, the mythological aspects of Mata Durga, and the fourth speaker we have from Hong Kong. She talked about the tradition of Buddhist text translation from India, and it was like the talk actually surrounded with the monk practicing caves, the literature of that Buddhist monk practicing, and the architecture of temples too. Then we have our fifth speaker, Usha Utra Ashe, and she talk about how the dancing body knows actual the art of concept and Indian dance forms, and how the dancing reflect the art of freedom, we can say. Then we have the last speaker from Indonesia, and he talk about the Bali tourism. All the speakers have their insights. The knowledge which they shared in the conference first session was really impactful, and thank you for all the speakers for being here. Thank you so much. So have a nice day. We are going to close the session within 2-3 minutes. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the speakers. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Manju ma'am, and thank you all the participants for making this session a wonderful thing. And sorry for the starting glitch. And so thank you all.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Now
Okay, Vishnu.